Hi guys, and welcome to my brand new channel called Thought Girl, where I will be discussing some pretty important topics about my life and just whatever is on my mind because, you know, I am a thought girl. So as the title describes, why I changed my name at 12 is what I will be discussing today. I did change my name at 12, and it was probably the most pivotal thing I've done so far in my life. And I have been really scared to talk about it for 12 years because I'm 24 now. And I feel so comfortable about the name change. And I feel so confident in the decision to do so that I feel excited to talk about this now. And it's been so long that I feel more confident talking about this because it's been so solidified and I've gone so many years without being dead named, and I don't know, I just feel really comfortable to talk about this now, and I hope this helps anyone going through a name change process. In this video, I'm going to explore a lot of the challenges I've faced, a lot of the bullying and awkward situations that this entire name change has caused. So let's get into it. The decision to change my name. What made me change my name? So I had recently become homeschooled during this process. I was, I believe, 10 years old, 10 turning 11 when I became homeschooled. It was going into 6th grade, and I had left my public school due to massive amounts of bullying, which I will get into later. And what triggered the name change was actually me signing on to my very first record label. I know, very exciting. I was so young. I was 11 turning 12 once I signed onto Cody Love Music. And my producer had a conversation with my dad when we went down to North Carolina to record some of my very first album. He said that he would like a more star quality name for me to go by. I don't think he realized that I was actually going to legally change my name eventually, but it was just an alias or something to get trademarked and build a brand around a new name, whether it be a play on my old name, which we definitely tried to do, but we went with something completely different. So we were playing around with maybe a nickname or utilizing my middle name as like a last name. Nothing really stuck out, nothing really worked. And then I forget who said Brooke first, but it might have been me since I was into watching Dance Moms at the time, and I was so obsessed with Brooke from Dance Moms. I thought she was so cool, and you know, I was 12 years old when we were trying to figure out a new name, 11 or 12, and so I wanted to be older. I thought Brooke was such a cool, hip name, and I wanted to be cool and hip, you know, I'm like a tween. So I remember saying Brooke, and my parents were interested in Brooke. I think my dad really liked it. My mom was super apprehensive during this process because, you know, she loved my birth name. She really loved. So I'll go in and out of saying birth name and old name. That just means the name I was born with. And my mom had named me when I was a baby. My dad really didn't care what I was called. He wanted me to be a boy. So he wasn't really too interested in choosing the name once he found out I was a girl. And so my mom was a little bit, I don't know. She was definitely more apprehensive than my dad was. He was really excited about the whole recording studio and recording, like the record label. So he was more excited about that. He wasn't, you know, super concerned about me totally changing my identity. So I might have said Brooke, and then I'm assuming Falls came right after because I feel like our brains were triggered by the fact that a brook is a stream, and it's I don't know, it leads into rivers and falls and waterfalls. So maybe our brains kind of related brook and falls together. So Brook Falls was the name that we chose, and then I created Lynn as the middle name because I was going in between Brooke Farah Falls so that my initials would have been BFF, but then I was like, no, why not make it Lynn? Because I feel like Brooklyn is just so, you know, why not? If you're going to make a name, like just do it right. So like I said before, I had been bullied in elementary school. Specifically, 4th and 5th grade were really hard years for me. And I remember being so excited about this new name because not only did I feel like my career was taking off, but I was also just so excited to leave the life that I was living behind. I was going home from school every single day, crying into my bed, not really telling many people how I was feeling. I kept a lot in. And I remember specifically in 5th grade when I got my first Facebook, someone in my class had made an I hate insert birth name here Facebook page, just ripping me apart. And I want to get into why I believe I was bullied. So I believe I was bullied because I grew up in a predominantly lower income area, and most of the kids around me were raised by their grandparents or with a single mom or one parent or a guardian. Some of them were raised by brothers and sisters, and there was a minimal amount of students in my class with 2 parents that loved them. I felt animosity towards me because of that, but kids didn't know how to tell me that. So they would go out of their way to make fun of me, make fun of my singing. I had hairy arms, so I got called monkey arms. I had a unibrow, and everybody just wants to be loved and everybody wants attention, and a lot of those kids were lacking both of those things. And so it's a nuanced situation, and I definitely reacted to the bullying more than other people. Some people were able to just brush things off of their shoulders. I was the kind of kid that let things get to me, so I let a lot of the bullying get to me. I would cry. So I remember not only when I was starting to do the recording contract, but I remember once we were deciding to change my name, it was like closing a chapter of trauma and bullying and starting a new life. And I was so excited about it. But my mom was definitely apprehensive because she adored my old name. And, that was definitely harder for her than it was for me or my dad. Pretty soon after we decided on the name, we trademarked it. And then I remember just within an instant, that next year was a bunch of photo shoots, business cards, building my brand. My mom was really into making my website and putting me out there online, which I want to get into another reason on why we decided to change the name. A major reason why we decided to change the name was due to security. My parents felt a lot better about me being online as a minor with a different name. And this is even before they knew much about social media, which I find in hindsight, they just had a gut feeling that it would probably be better for me to go by an alias instead of my legal name, because it would have been harder for people to find me and where I live if I was going by a different name. And I'm just interested in why they felt so compelled to change my name for security reasons. That was another reason why. I remember my very first YouTube video of me covering memory from cats. It's on my dad's YouTube channel, and I was 9 years old when it came out, so this is 2009. And I remember they did not put my name anywhere within this video. They just called it Cats 505, if you want to go find that. And they put in the description, "Young girl sings beautifully." So they were already, pivotal when it came to protecting children's identity online, which I find really commendable. And I'm happy that they didn't put my legal name out there at the time, even though I ended up making it legal. So I want to get into why the desire for a star quality name came about. The name I was born with was definitely an average American name, maybe slightly Irish. And I wanted something a little bit more star quality in the sense of you can go through life with this name, and some people might not question it at all. Brook Falls, but then some people do a double take. And I've had plenty of people, when I tell them my name, go, "Is that real?" And it's so interesting because now I'm able to be like, yeah, it's real. But I always got a little bit awkward when people would ask that question when it was still the in-between phase of it being trademarked and it not being legal yet. I had always dreamt of performing at really nice places and having my name on a marquee. but I never dreamt of the name I was born with on that marquee or on a billboard or anything like that. I had always seen something different. Even when I was a lot younger, I would kind of say my old name to myself and go, I don't know, this just isn't it. I feel like I'd have to go by something else. So it just made sense to completely change my name. So what was it like juggling two names at once? It was hard. In the beginning, I was correcting a lot of my family and my friends. I remember I tried to do the whole Hannah Montana thing where I was my legal name in day-to-day life. And then on stage, I was Brooke Falls. So that started to get hard. And I remember a very specific performance where it really bugged me. By this time, I was 14 and I had this name for 2 years now, but I wasn't going by Brooke Falls all the time. And I had invited a lot of my friends at this performance and my family. And I remember I was talking with someone across the room and I hear my grandma just shouting my legal name, my birth name, at me to get my attention to come over and see someone. And I remember just freezing, feeling the the guttural anxiety of like, oh my God, the one time where people are supposed to be calling me Brooke, they're not. And I was so anxious about it that I didn't even turn. I froze because I was like, well, if I turn at that name, people are going to know. And I was so self-conscious about people finding out what it was at my performances that I was just like, I can't even move. I can't even do anything. I'm just going to stare at the floor or something. And then I overheard my dad telling my grandma, she's Brooke today. And I was just like, oh my God, like I just wanted to hide. I wanted to totally cocoon myself forever. I just didn't want to even be there. It made me feel so uncomfortable hearing that conversation right behind me. And then she goes, oh, okay, Brooke, starts shouting Brooke at me. And then I turn and you could just see the life was taken out of me on my face. I was so embarrassed and so scared that just people weren't going to take me seriously or take my name seriously. And that was something that it took a really, really long time to overcome. Was it confusing or empowering to live a double life like that? I would say it was both. I was a lot more confident online with the name. I was able to curate what people were able to see, and I was able to showcase the life that I wanted to be living like a lot of people do online. It's not reality, but whenever I would be in person with people, specifically family and very close friends, it was uncomfortable because there was a switch after that incident that I talked about where I think I went to my parents and I was like, I think I want to be Brooke time because people are getting too confused with trying to switch to call me Brooke at performances and call me by my legal name out in public or at events and family gatherings. So I remember there was a switch. And once I had made that switch, it was difficult to actually get my family to listen to me and call me that. And I remember, this is something I will touch on later in the video, when you are an adult going through someone in your life changing their name, the worst thing you can do is call them by their birth name, and then when they correct you, go, oh my God, I'm so sorry. It's just so hard for me to get used to this new name. It's just, like you really can't expect me to do this. It's better just to correct yourself, say the new name, call me Brooke, and move on. It's just better to correct yourself and move on. So at the end of the day, I was around 14 or 15 when I wanted to start going by this name full time and stop with going back and forth from my legal name to Brooke. And I felt a lot better about that decision, but it was so hard transitioning into this new name because every time people would mess up, I would get this really bad guttural anxiety about it. Like it would shoot me right back to 11 years old before I had this name. So I don't miss that anxiety at all because that anxiety has gone away because I don't get called that name anymore. It's been 12 years, almost 9 years since I've had that name legalized. So it's not a problem anymore. And people call me Brooke, and people are respectful. And that's something that definitely happened later on. I also think that meeting new people and meeting strangers are more respectful about what they call you by than people that knew you before the name change. So I always thought I was going to struggle with this for the rest of my life, but the biggest piece of advice I can give to anybody that's in the process of changing their name is that once you change your name and you shake someone's hand and tell them your name, it's so hard for them to think of anything else. So if they find out what your birth name was or your legal name is, if it's not legalized, it's actually a lot harder for them to switch back to something different than it is to just go by what they met you as. So even if they find out what my old name, my birth name was, they're not going to call me that because they met me as Brooke. They know me as Brooke. And I do have compassion for people that, in my family met me when I was a baby and called me by my birth name. And then all of a sudden at 12 years old, I changed my name. Yes, it's hard. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not hard, but the best thing you can do is just correct yourself and move on every time you slip up. What were the reactions like from my family? So my immediate family pretty much understood what was going on, especially with my career endeavors and making this album and making a whole brand. They were pretty understanding of why I wanted to change my name, which I'm so grateful for. My parents and my grandma that I live with, but my mom's mom, my mum, she is a woman that is so stuck in her ways, or was so stuck in her ways. She passed when I was 19, and from 12 to 19, she totally refused to call me by Brooke. And you know what? She got the pass, okay? Because she was going through a form of Alzheimer's, and I loved her dearly. She loved me so, so much. Every time I talked with her on the phone, because they lived in Florida, so I didn't see them often, she was just obsessed with my voice, obsessed with my singing, and she can totally get away with calling me whatever she wanted to call me. So that was the one family member that totally was not open to calling me Brooke at all. And, again, she gets the pass. No one else does. My extended family probably thought my parents and I were crazy, mostly my parents, because obviously I was a minor and there's not much I could do about the legalization and the trademarking. All of that had to be done through my parents. So I do believe my extended family thought my parents were absolutely insane for changing my name, for sure. As far as how long it took them to actually start calling me Brooke, I'm going to say it was about 4 or 5 years after the trademarking. So, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, by the time I was 17 or 18, I actually could feel my extended family starting to call me Brooke, which was really refreshing, and it lessened a lot of the anxiety and pit in my stomach I would feel going to family events. And I think as I grew into the name more and as I started meeting new people as Brooke and getting called it more, it just started solidifying the name and really starting to feel people were respecting me and taking me seriously in this career. As far as their opinions on changing my name as well, I don't believe they ran up to me and told me their opinions of my name change directly. They might have told my parents, and my parents might have kept it from me, or just told me in passing, so-and-so is not happy about it. But my parents were really good at not letting other people's opinions of the career decisions totally dictate their life and decide what we were doing. And I'm really grateful that they didn't, because I would not obviously be here today making music and doing the career that I am without their support and without their belief in me. I would not be here doing what I'm doing. There is a psychological impact when I hear this name in public, and especially at a coffee shop or at a lunch place. Maybe someone's getting takeout and they have the same name that I did when I was born, and I overhear, ham and cheese for insert name here. I will literally turn, and it's so interesting because now when it happens, I catch myself and I laugh. Like, it's just so funny to me after 12 years. I've had this name for so long that I will still turn when I hear my birth name. So there's definitely a cognitive impact about changing a name that I think is so interesting, and I would love to dive deeper on. I'm not sure if anybody specializes in the psychological impacts of a name change. That's the most niche topic I've ever said. So it's just going to be so interesting when I'm 90 years old. Hopefully I don't have any kind of Alzheimer's. I take lion's mane mushroom tincture, so I'm trying to, be like 10 steps ahead of that. And I wonder if I'm still going to remember that was my name, or am I going to revert and want to be called that? Like, it's going to be so interesting to see what happens in the future. But yeah, I still will sometimes turn if I hear somebody calling that name in public. Obviously, they're not talking to me. It just has to be like super random. But it's whenever I hear it on purpose, like if somebody I've met, but whenever I hear it on purpose now, just say sometimes a family member forgets, or I see a very, very old friend, maybe somebody I went to elementary school with, or even, musical theater groups I was in and a part of when I was a young girl. It's almost comical now. It brings me back to being a kid again. And so now when I hear it, I almost go, wow, that was my old name. So it does have this feeling of like, damn, like, yeah, you remembered me when I was super young. Not that I want to hear that name, but it does bring me back to when I was a kid. There was a major struggle of me wanting to keep this a secret, right? Like, it's vulnerable to tell people that I changed my name completely because I'm scared that people won't respect me and won't respect what I want to be called. That's such a profound thing that's always going to be a part of my life. But what I can do to control my reactions is just to let them. There's this amazing audiobook by Mel Robbins, and it's the Let Them Theory. And I'm not going to be able to control people on what they call me, whether it be mean names, good names, my old name, or the name I want to be called, which is Brooke Falls. What can I do? Getting mad at it is just taking the time that I don't have in my day out on someone else. So it's just better to take back control of what I can control, because I can't control other people. And I had to learn that the hard way, for sure. When I was going by Brooke Falls full time and in musical theater groups, people found out what my old name was. There was a ton of people just calling me my old name because they thought it was funny. And you know why they kept doing it? I kept getting worked up about it. I kept giving them a reaction. So that obviously made them keep going because it made them feel powerful over me, which they were at the time. And all I can do now is just take that power back and not react. Let's reflect on the name change. Do I regret changing my name? Absolutely not. I love this name so much. I resonate so much with this name. I'm very happy that I legalized it when I was 16 because I wanted to have a passport in this name. I wanted everyone to just call me it. I didn't want to have to go through this Hannah Montana, Miley Cyrus double life. It's just too confusing for my brain, but that does not mean you have to legalize it. You are allowed to tell people what you want to be called, and they should respect that. And if they don't, then I'd suggest maybe not hanging around those people, or, correcting them every time they mess up and moving on. But people should respect what you want to be called. And if they don't, they're not obviously respectful of your life and decisions. But if you want to make it legal, it definitely, for me at least, feels more solidified, and it feels better all around to go by this name legally, because I never have to worry about that guttural feeling anymore of somebody calling me my birth name, unless it's a distant family member that I'm not hanging around with often, or someone that I knew in my previous life when I was a kid. But I do not regret it. Even if nothing happens with my music career, I still love this name, and I'm so happy that I changed it. I have learned respect and patience. Those are the two top things I have learned when it comes to going through a name change and also being around people that are trying to change their language. So when it comes to other people changing their name, I'm obviously a little bit more inclined to be more respectful because I've been through this myself. And that goes with a lot of different situations. If you yourself have been through something and someone else is going through it, you are definitely more likely to respect them for it and to try your best to change your language. The advice I would give for someone that is thinking of changing their name is 3 things. Go with your gut, do it for you and nobody else. And if you feel like you want to make it legal, do it, but just know that people should respect you and what you want to be called without that happening. Did I face any legal challenges trying to change my name as a minor? Yes. There were no forms online, so my mom had to literally make her own form, like text box and everything. She had to make the entire form herself. She went off of a form for an adult and literally just copied that but made it for a minor. And I was the first minor in my county to change their name completely, which I think is crazy to think about. And when you do go through a name change process, I'm not sure if this is the same for adults, but you have to put it in the newspaper that it's happening. I think that's so odd. But we had to get things notarized. We had to go to the county courthouse so many different times and get all of these papers notarized. And then finally I had to stand in front of a judge, and the judge just straight up looked at me, asked me, "Why do you want to change your name?" And I just said verbatim, "For my career." And boom, it was legalized. So it was definitely a hard process. But if it wasn't for my parents, like I said this whole video, if it wasn't for them, my career would not be where it's at. And I love them dearly, and I'm very grateful for them. Again, I wanted to say at the end of this video, if you are going through a name change, be patient with yourself and be patient with others. And if you are going through someone changing their name in your life, again, be patient with yourself, correct yourself quickly, and move right on. I think that's the best way to go about a slip up. My name change empowered me so much as a performer and for my career. I'm so grateful that I did it. Again, so grateful for my parents. And if you have any questions, please comment them down below. I might even make a follow-up video if there are enough questions. And I'm really excited for this series that I'm doing here on this YouTube channel. So I will definitely be making some more videos in the future. Please go to my main channel. It's going to be linked down in the description. All of my links will be to see my music videos and to listen to my music. Please stream it. I'm begging. I have a new song coming out on February 21st called I Love Being Young. And what else can I add? I will tell you right now that my legal name was